From the islands where the sun meets the sea, Jason's the voice we all wanna be. Interviewing creators, making comics come alive. With every story, he helps us thrive. Jason from Hawaii, diving in deep, unveiling the stories that we wanna keep. From creators to heroes, he's got the scoop on the comics for fun and profit loops. So tune in.
Aloha, it's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing Mad Cave Studio editor Sarah Brunstad. I'm sorry, Sarah, did I pronounce your last name correctly? I'm sorry about that.
No, that's right. It's the flat American accent, Brunstad.
Thank you. So, she's here to promote LA Strong, a charity comic for victims of the Los Angeles fires. This anthology one-shot is from Mad Cave Studios. This will be out in stores on March 19th. Now, the proceeds of this book will be donated to creators who were affected by the Los Angeles fires in January 2025. Sarah, welcome to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be here. I'm doing well. It's a cold Friday up here in upstate New York. Cuddled up with my cats, getting ready to make some comic books. I'm doing well. Yeah.
All right, no, but thank you for coming on. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast to promote this very special book. Listeners, I just want to give you a little bit. Just want to. I usually I open up my interview says, "Oh, hey, aloha." Welcome. But this is going to be a little bit. I just want to kind of keep it low key because of the subject matter of this comic book. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about hope. But it's just the devastations of the fires in Los Angeles really it affected us all, and it's just, we're not gonna just focus on that, but we're also gonna focus on how people got through it and also how we can help as well. Now, bef be no, I'm sorry. Did you want to add anything? I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
no.
So, before we continue, I want to give a big shout out to Allison Marie Pond, the Mad Cave VP of Marketing. Allison, thank you very much for setting up this interview, and thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. Sarah, would you like to give Allison a shout out or anything?
Allison is great. I'm a fairly new member of Mad Cave's team. I was with Marvel Comics for a long time and
Mhm.
just joined Mad Cave this year. And Allison has really impressed me. She's so on top of things. She is so
Mhm.
thoughtful about how to reach out to people and how to make
Yes.
connections.
Hmm.
And so good at talking to, not just the big distributors, but also, all of the local people on the ground who make comics what it is. So Allison's terrific.
Oh, well, thank you very much for sharing that. And also, Sarah, I want to thank you very much. Thank you for providing me an advanced review copy. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Now, listeners, I'm just going to give a brief history of the 2025 LA fires. And again, it's just now I got my information from Wikipedia. And again, I just want to give just the general information. We're not going to go into details or anything like that. Um, but basically, my understanding is that from January 7th to January 31st of 2025, about 14 destructive wildfires in the Los Angeles metropolis area and San Diego County. You know, these fires were very devastating. It affected a lot of people's lives. Most of the damaging fires were the Eaton fire and the Palisade fires that we unfortunately during January we kept hearing about all throughout the news on the news. About 200,000, again, like I said, this is an estimate, 200,000 people were evacuated during this time. More than 18,000 homes and structures were destroyed. And unfortunately, during this tragedy, about 29 people were killed. And again, these are just all estimates because we really have no idea what the exact number will be when you know everything's shifted and all the investigation and so forth like that. Now, for me, this this was very scary to watch on the news every night. Um, and the reason why was because it seemed like there was no end in sight. All we kept hearing about is, the correct me if I'm wrong, said the Santa Ana winds would be like almost like sometimes it would say it's like strong gust of winds and it would just continue for almost days.
Hmm.
And it was just scary. So I think and also too, I live in Hawaii. I do not live on Maui, but it just felt a little close to home when Lahaina um was on fire almost about 2 years ago. So it's still it hit a little close to home.
Hmm.
Um, so Sarah, I'm gonna ask, let's start talking about LA Strong, a charity comic for victims of the Los Angeles fires. Also, and let me say, listeners, this interview would be more about the process of how this book came together. Please bear with me because I'm gonna probably ask some stupid questions. But the main purpose is to promote this very special book where all the proceeds of this book will be donated to creators affected by the wildfires earlier this year. All right, so Sarah, I'm going to start off. You know, where did Mad Cave's when did the Mad Cave staff decide to do this book?
Yeah, so it was really immediate. I think the fires had I forget exactly what day they
Mhm.
started, but I think it was, something like a Thursday. And when I came into work after the weekend, Mike Martz, our editor-in-chief,
Yes.
um, messaged me and said, "Hey, we're already seeing reports of people in the comics world who have lost homes. We were thinking about doing something to address it."
Mhm.
And Mad Cave had done a charity anthology in 2023 called Lower Your Sights. And that was for to raise awareness of the Ukrainian war and to raise funds for children who were affected by the war.
That's right.
Um,
Hmm.
so that anthology was really well received. It was
Hmm.
nominated for a Ringo Award, and it was a really beautiful effort put together,
Hmm.
really spearheaded by the editor who made it, Chaz Pangborn. And so we had, kind of this idea of, or we had this history of doing that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So Mike said, let's do another charity anthology. And it was very quick for me because it was within the first 2 weeks of my joining the Bad Cave team.
Hmm.
But I come from building a lot of anthologies. I ran a lot of the Marvel Voices program
Oh
over
yes.
at Marvel.
Hmm.
And if you're familiar with that program, most of those books are anthologies. So that was already something I was very familiar with, and something I kind of love to do. Um, so I was excited and honored to be able to help put it together, and really happy to be joining a team that saw a problem and immediately said, what can we as publishers
Yes.
do about it?
Hmm.
Which I think is something that we all need to be doing right now. And
Yes.
major companies are kind of backing away from. They're not picking up the torch, and it's really going to
Hmm.
be small communities, I think, that need to stand up and take care of each other. So
Hmm.
I was really happy to see Mad Cave doing that. But yeah, shout out to Mike Martz, who originally came in and said, let's do this. So.
Thank you very much for sharing that. If you don't mind me asking, I'm going to ask, do you have friends or loved ones, that are affected by this event? Like, were they living in California? Are they living in California or, you know,
Yeah, certainly. I definitely have friends who live out there. And I didn't know any of the people who directly lost their homes, but I knew
mhm.
lots of people who had to leave and could not
Yes.
go home for, anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And we're not sure that they would have homes to go to.
Yeah.
Um, Not to mention just, even if your home wasn't directly under threat, everyone was breathing the flames
Hmm.
and dealing with the displacement all across the
Hmm.
city. So I think even if you had the most privileged position possible in Los Angeles, you were still affected by it in some way. And of course, the comics community, everybody knows each other, everybody cares
Hmm.
about each other. So yeah, I definitely knew a bunch of people. And I reached out to some of them. It was like, it was a little hard to figure that out when you're doing a charity anthology and reaching out and asking people to donate work. Because on one hand, you want to have people involved who are directly affected and
Yes.
get their
Hmm.
voices out. But at the same time, those are the people who are under the most stress, and I don't need to be asking them for work right now.
No, yeah, no, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel very lucky also that a bunch of people came forward and just said we'd really like to participate in this, and kind of
Mhm.
made it easy for me in that way.
Yes, because yes, and I'm sorry, I'm going off the cuff, and actually I'm going to say actually this is the perfect segue because like you said, you have to reach out to creators and you're kind of hoping, and like you said, it was not the best time to do it, but in some sense it was appropriate too because I'm trying to think because there's some creators out there that are living out in LA. They're not directly affected by the wildfires, but like I said again, but like you mentioned, I can't imagine breathing the air quality at that time. Or the unfortunate thing, and I saw it on Twitter because I didn't think about it, was that some comic book creators had to leave their homes to go to a hotel because their place had no power. They had
Hmm.
power outages. So yes, but so I'm gonna say so basically I'm gonna go back into this is the perfect segue to um just name a few writers and artists and colorists that you guys were able to contact and especially if you know of some of them that live in the Los Angeles area to go yeah hey I'm okay yeah but yeah let me write this because I need to sort of put my feelings down I need to process too yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, for example, there was an artist that I worked with, Chrissy Chung, who did a page for the anthology, and she actually said to me, "I know another artist who might be interested." She used to live in LA and
Hmm.
gave me that contact information, and that was Janet
Nice.
Sung.
Hmm.
And so then I reached out to Janet, and so some of the pieces in the anthology are brand new that someone drew specifically for this, and then some of the pieces were things that already existed and the creators donated them. So for Janet, she donated that terrific piece of a young woman on a skateboard that
Yes.
we paired with Christos Gage, which
Hmm.
feels like such a lovely image of LA. Like,
Yes.
and that came from just I went on Janet's website and I was like, I love this. Would
Hmm.
you be willing to let us reprint it here?
Hmm.
And she was generous with that. So it was fun. It was like, yeah, some people were like, yes, I have time, let me sit down and draw something brand new. And then for
Hmm.
other people, I got to kind of fangirl a little bit and be like, oh, I really love this piece. Like this would be
Hmm.
perfect. So it was a cool mix.
Oh, okay. Now, also too, I'm gonna get a little bit into the details of like um when you were able to contact the creators, writers, artists, you know, did you and Mike have like did Mike have like a rough guideline? I mean, you guys did the Ukraine anthology, but did you guys kind of give like sort of guidelines to the writers like um if you can do it in one page, that'd be great maybe the story shouldn't be no more than 3 pages, please. We have to think about we need to fit, other creators' works in here. Or
That was exactly it. I sat down and thought to myself, like, yeah, what are some prompts that I can put together that are going to give people options and a sense of guidance? Because
Mhm.
a lot of the times when you go to say someone and just say, respond to this event, it's like
Yeah.
it's really hard to hold on to and to figure out exactly what they want to say. So I wanted to provide some helpful prompts for people, and try to think about like a variety of themes. And I wanted a variety of perspectives in the book as well. Like
Yes.
you'll notice that there are a lot of hopeful pieces. Most of the book is pretty geared towards, the recovery aspect
Hmm.
and the heroism of all the people who
Hmm.
came
Yes.
to get to help each other. But there are a few pieces in the book that are also like very angry and very bitter and
Yes.
address some of the like systemic injustices that
Yes.
were part of this tragedy.
Hmm.
And it was really important to me to get those in the book as well. So I kind of cultivated my prompts
Hmm.
as I went. I
Hmm.
started out being very, very broad.
Hmm.
And then as I got more pieces in and started to see kind of gaps of what I felt like was missing, I
Hmm.
started to narrow down my prompts as I was talking to people. So I
Hmm.
tried to guide things that way. But then some people brought stuff that they came in totally on their own, and they were like, we love LA, we just want to bring some kind of homage to it. So like,
Yes.
for example, Joey Esposito and Sean Van Gorman did a two-page spread of from their character the pedestrian.
Yes.
And it's a fun little story.
It's
They brought their whole creative team, so their letterer, their colorist as well. That was a Sean and Dave helping with that, and yeah, and so like in that case, I didn't have to give them anything. They came to me and said, "We'd love this. Here's what we want
mhm.
to do," and I said, "That looks great."
Yeah.
Um, Megan Hung,
Yes.
her story with the monster in the forest, that was originally a 12-page sequence
Hmm.
that she gave to me and said, "I finished this a long time ago, and I've never found a home for it. This seems like, somehow appropriate." And she and I worked together to figure out how to take that 12 pages and fit it into four.
Hmm.
So we kind of condensed the story. So everybody was a little bit different. But yeah, I tried to keep a general eye on like what's being addressed in the anthology. Are there things that we're missing?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing I loved about this, Sarah, is like you said, it's the perfect balance.
Well, thank
You
you.
got it. Because that's what it is because um because like you said, when the fire started, um because I remember seeing a page where basically it's just a page where it's an airplane doing a water drop, and you know Los Angeles is pretty much known for their palm trees. But you see the palm tree, this healthy
Hmm.
palm tree is just burning in fire because it's like, oh my God, this is something horrific and devastating. But this is from the perspective of the writer and the artist at that time. And then you have the ones where, like you said, you have the heroic ones where um I can't remember. I remember the story where it was the one page about the fire, the fire woman, and
Hmm.
but then it ends where she's, a firefighter. I
Hmm.
love that because then it's the sign of, yes, this, it doesn't matter, you know, race, sex, and it's just we're just firefighters fighting this thing right now, you know. And then the other thing and then like you said, I loved it where it touched upon um the realities of it. Some people were angry, some people they lost their home, you know, and um I'm not going to get too political, but I remember hearing about stories about, insurance companies, because insurance rates are going crazy right now.
Hmm.
And then their home is gone. But then it's kind of like going, then it's like the idea of, wait, what do you mean my coverage doesn't cover this? What do you mean that and that's the reality. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it, not in just Los Angeles, but literally everywhere in the United States. But
Right. And these climate disasters are going to,
yes,
it happened to LA this time. Next time it might hit the East Coast. Like,
North Carolina right now.
we're living in a very precarious time.
Yes.
And it's a moment when, I think we can all agree that there are a lot of people and organizations looking to exploit people instead of help
Yes.
them.
Yes.
Um, so, speaking of the firefighters, I think there were over 900 incarcerated
Hmm.
firefighters, some of
Yes.
whom were very young, like 18 to 20 years
Hmm.
old, out there fighting fires for pennies a day.
Hmm.
We shouldn't be relying on, young boys.
Hmm.
That's just horrifying. It's horrifying. So yes, there's a lot of justified anger and fear. And it was interesting too to work on pairing people's sentiments together.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
so some people came together, like I mentioned, Joey and Sean,
Hmm.
Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming, they came
Yes.
together, obviously.
That was nice. Yeah.
It was cool. But then there's a lot of people who came to me and just brought me something, and then I got to figure out where to put it.
Hmm.
So usually, well, some of the writers sent me their finished text, a
Hmm.
paragraph or whatever, and then I paired it with a piece of art that I'd received.
Okay.
And then for other cases, I received a piece of art and went to a writer and said, I think you would like this piece. Would you like to
Hmm.
respond to it?
Hmm.
Um, Most of the pieces I put together, but then there's a few as well that were direct responses to pieces of art. Um, so like Dan DiDio wrote about the
Yes.
coastline, and then it was
Yeah.
Christian Ward who did the beautiful palm
Oh,
tree piece.
that was, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and then I got to do stuff like Rob Denblecker of Cyanide and Happiness
Hmm.
donated a strip from his cartoon, and it's
Yeah.
a funny, sarcastic, like classic, strip for him. And I went to Daniel Kibblesmith,
Yes.
who had wanted to do something totally different, but I couldn't find we couldn't figure out how to bring his original thought into the
Hmm.
book. And so I went to Daniel and I said, listen, I got this instead. I think this is so up your alley. Like, do you want
Hmm.
to do a kind of essay response to this?
Hmm.
And so then Steve Orlando did the same thing with Szymon Kudranski. He wrote a beautiful, like long essay. And so
Hmm.
I tried to also like vary the content. So like some of them are very short, some of them
Yes.
are more full stories, and
Yes.
then we have these kind of essay tent poles throughout the anthology.
Off the cuff, the other thing I remembered so vividly was also um pets. The
Hmm.
part about the cats. Um Ron
Yeah, Matt Harding's
Mars.
page. I
Yeah.
love that page.
Ron Mars was talking about the dogs,
Hmm.
you know. And I was like, oh my, yeah, because we focus on everything of like, I made sure that we got our belongings, we made sure that all our family, my kids and everyone was piled in the car, but then the reality of it too was unfortunately the pets, some of them unfortunately were left behind.
Yeah. Or, the cat gets out, you can't find it, you gotta go. Like,
Yeah.
it's really, yeah, it's tragic. It's also a source of beauty in that story that so
Mhm.
many people came together to help each other find their pets, that
Yes.
firefighters rescue
Yes.
pets.
Hmm.
Um, they're part of our families.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Um, sorry, I'm going to continue on. Um, what were some, may I ask, like, were there like backstories to like either the text or if there was some original art that was contributed to this? Like, were there's that was being submitted? Like I'm going to pick Dan DiDio's one because that's him and Christian Ward's page for me that stood out a lot. Just the
Mhm.
devastation and the horror because Christian Ward captured it so beautifully. Like I said, that's the one where the palm trees literally bursting into flames, and you see the plane in the background doing the water drop. And Dan DiDio's text was perfect for that. Um, you know, did did some of the creators like, okay, here's my piece, here's my work, but let me tell you a little bit more about what happened, or this is how I came up with this. Did you get any stories like that?
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Amy Chase originally wanted to write. So I love her page, which is paired with Kenneth Stewart Moore, and it's a cool like look at the skyline of Los Angeles and some of the like major architectural
Hmm.
icons from it. But Amy's original idea was to write about the Real Inn, which is this famous like fish joint
Hmm.
on the road out of LA.
Hmm.
It used to be part of her like long commute out of the city.
Hmm.
And they're famous for their ridiculous pun signs,
Hmm.
all kinds of like silly fishing puns. And that place is gone now. It was a victim of the fires.
Hmm.
Um, but she wanted to write about that one originally because it was such a joy. It was a source of joy for her on this long commute slogging home to get this little chuckle out of
Hmm.
this ridiculous sign. And it was an example of this place that like otherwise is probably not going to be mourned that much. It's not going to hit, headlines or whatever, but
Hmm.
it's those small things also that, are part of your community that you mourn.
Yes.
Um,
Hmm.
so I'm glad to get to talk about that here because we didn't get to put it in the anthology.
Yeah.
Um, and then Scott B. Cohn for his page, some of the people on that page are members of his friends and family.
Mhm.
who, and some of them are his pets as well. So I think the cats on that page are his friends' cats.
Mm-hmm.
I think the dog is his own.
Mm-hmm.
So people definitely like put their own sort of lives and families into that. Um, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, for Dan DiDio and for Christians, I'm really glad to hear you say that they're paired perfectly because that's an example of one where they didn't like coordinate. Dan wrote this really lovely thing, Christian turned in this beautiful page, and then
Yes.
I was like, yes, put it together.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they and everybody got to see their pairings and all of that. So it was really fun also to like kind of introduce people to each other and be like, look what you did together. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think any other stories for kind of backstories in the issue. Um,
Don't worry, take your time. Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know if I can really think of anything that's not el otherwise on the page. I will say that Allison Sampson and John Yotter's page is really cool to me. That one, Allison like happened to have this historical connection and knew about this style of architecture in LA and this era of
Mm-hmm.
the buildings that were constructed then. And so, and then John is this academic and they're just friends and like
Hmm.
happen to have this weird niche of information that turned into this beautiful page with a woman like looking over some flowers and then the buildings and stuff kind of behind her. So yeah, it's just
Hmm.
what I love about the comics world is that it's so diverse. People are so different. And that's why we end up with such great books because nothing is like anything else.
That's true. It is. Um, I'm going to ask because we've already talked about the process, we've already talked about some of the pages, um, the creators, writers and artists working together, the colorists and the letterers. I'm going to start moving on. I'm going to ask because it's mentioned early on that the proceeds of this book will go to help creators affected by the Los Angeles fires. Um, may I ask how is the money going to be will be distributed to them?
Yeah, sure thing. If one thing I want to quickly go back
Mhm.
and say I meant to shout out Jeff Eckelberry, who lettered like 90% of the book, did almost all of it, and donated all of that time. So super, super shout out to Jeff,
Yes,
like the quiet superhero of this book.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so for the donations, I'm glad you're asking. It's good to be transparent about
Hmm.
all of that kind of stuff. So the way that it's working is our team, which includes Allison Pond, who you mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
includes Mark Irwin, our
Hmm.
president, Chris Fernandez, our publisher, and then some members of our accounting team, of course.
Hmm.
They have a list of creators who have lost their homes or been otherwise
Yes.
severely impacted.
Hmm.
And they are going through a process of reaching out to all of those people to verify the claims, first
Hmm.
of all,
Yes.
and also to assure that those people want a donation because some people may want to refuse it because they already have a GoFundMe or,
Hmm.
whatever thing.
Yeah.
So they're making personal contact with
Okay.
those individuals.
Okay.
And then whatever the proceeds will be, I assume will be split equally
Mhm.
between those groups.
Oh,
Um, so
no, thank you very much for answering that question. Thank you very much.
yeah.
Um, this is a dumb question, because, you um, the hard copy comes out on March 19th. Will this also be available digitally? And I'm just thinking because let's say I'm just gonna pick some place, Kahului, Maui, where, you know, I- or someplace in Lahaina. No, or no,
Hmm.
no, let's, um, oh my God, I'm going blank on the outer islands right now. Let's say someplace, um, middle of nowhere, Big Island, right?
No local comic book shop.
Yeah, there's no local comic book shop, but they have internet service. Will this be available digitally?
Yes, so you can read Mad Cave books online, and this will be no exception.
Mhm.
And yeah, I will say, obviously we encourage people to go get the physical copy because
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be a rare and special artifact, hopefully.
Yes.
Um, but also like money is money. Please just give us the money to distribute.
Oh,
So that
yes.
is great. A digital sale is great too.
Okay.
We love that.
And then also, I'm just gonna ask, so if the digital sales is some of those money, is that going to be used to help? Um, will some of the proceeds go to help the creators? You
Yes, just like the physical sales,
okay.
all of the sales, all proceeds will go to the affected creators.
Oh, okay. All right. And again, you've already mentioned that, it's going to be available digitally. Again, let's go back to middle of Big Island nowhere. There's no comic book in sight, comic shop in sight. They have a mailbox. Can they order it? Where can they order it? So this is my
Absolutely.
for you to plug Man Cave website.
Yes. You can order directly on the Mad Cave site, madcavestudios.com. Yeah, you can order individual comics directly there and we will ship them to you. So that is definitely an option.
All right.
And we're going to have it on sale twice, actually. So it's going to
Yes.
come out on March 19th.
Mhm.
We wanted to get it out as quickly as possible so that we can start gathering funds. However, we're also going to re-solicit it for on sale um, in May, and that will be part of the lunar solicitation cycle. So that's Mad Cave's main distributor now. So there will be two opportunities at least to obtain the book.
And then also too the that version that's coming out in May, there's a different cover artist on that, right? So
That's right. So the very first printing in March, coming up on the 19th, is going to be our beautiful Ian Churchill cover,
mhm.
which is the statue of the angel standing in the flames of Los Angeles. And then the second printing has an absolutely gorgeous piece by Juan Doe that features a firefighter with California poppies arrayed as a frame behind him. They're both just exquisite pieces, and I was really thrilled to get two covers so that I could showcase more art that way.
That is really nice. Um, Sarah, I forgot to write this down, but so we already mentioned that basically March 19th is when the book comes out. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think in Saturday, March 22nd, there's some type of event that Mad Cave is putting out. Is that correct? The
Yes,
I'm sorry,
and
I just realized I'm kind of listeners, I'm sorry about this because I remember seeing something on either Blue Sky or X. I can't remember that there was going to be um like a sort of an event um that if the comic book fans can go to is to raise money. Again, is to raise money to help comic book creators. Um, and
yes,
yeah,
yeah, we wanted to do some physical events as well. We've made bookmarks, for example, for Comic-Cons and things like that. And because so many of the creators are local to LA,
yes,
and comic book retailers also really wanted to show up and show their love.
yes.
So we wanted to put together a big event that would work for everybody for that. So that's going to be on March 22nd.
Mhm.
And it is going to be at um okay, I'm really sorry. I'm not sure the location of the event.
It's okay. No,
Oh, here it is. It's at the comic book store Revenge of. There we go. I'm so sorry.
no.
At the comic book store Revenge of on March 22nd from
Mhm.
7 to 10 p.m.
Yes.
We're going to have a signing. So some of the creators are going to be there
Mhm.
signing the book. There will also be a silent auction, which is going to be another super cool
Yes.
opportunity
Mhm.
to donate to the book. So creators have donated pieces,
Mhm.
additional pieces from the anthology and from other parts of their collection. And you can bid to buy those pieces, and those proceeds will also go to the creators who've been displaced.
So, listeners, I'm going to say, and I'm this is my part, and Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but listeners, if you live in the Los Angeles area, or I'm going to be honest, if you guys are going to be visiting the Los Angeles area around March 9th, during the week of March 19th to let's say March 23rd, your
Mhm.
trip, I'll just maybe recommend just check the Mad Cave um, website to find out the location of when this event is. And again, like I said, I'm Sarah. I'm sorry because like I said, I'm looking at my questions. I'm going, I thought I wrote down something about this event thing, and so I'm
No
sorry.
worries. I should have
No,
anticipated it.
no. It's okay. Or also listeners too, like I said, check Blue Sky, follow Mad Cave on Blue Sky, and this is a good opportunity to promote Mad Cave. Where can listeners follow Mad Cave besides the website?
That's
Where
right.
can they
Yeah,
follow
Mad Cave
you?
Studios on all of your major social
Hmm.
platforms. We are on Blue Sky. We're on Instagram. I am also on Instagram and Blue
Yes.
Skies, Mighty Brunstad. I am still on X, but I'll tell you, I don't use it. I don't recommend it.
No,
Um, but
Sarah,
yeah, come find me on Blue Sky.
yeah, Sarah, I understand. Trust me, yeah. All right. Let me start wrapping things up. Now, also too, if listeners want to donate a little bit more money, because towards the end of the book, you guys also list a number of charities that they can,
Yes.
yeah, so yes, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so we, of course, we partner often with Bank, the Book Industry Charitable Foundation,
Yes.
which themselves donated some money to this cause already. They're really terrific. They work directly with retailers and with creators
Mm-hmm.
to support the industry really from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely check them out. That's just bankfoundation.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have a page in the back of the book that plugs the Pasadena Community Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, again, on the groundwork being done by local activists.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already raised nearly $2 million in funds to go to nonprofits, specifically in the very much historically Black neighborhoods of
Mm-hmm.
Altadena and Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I also wanted to make sure that we plugged something about, the arts community,
Yes.
because that's such a vibrant part of LA, and that's what we're also contributing to. So we spoke to Arts for LA, and they gave us the permission to put them in the book as well.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
They're a terrific nonprofit that provides all kinds of grants and advocates for artists in the Los Angeles area, and they are helping maintain a spreadsheet
Mm-hmm.
for people who have ongoing needs. So if you're trying to get on the floor of like, it's easy to find articles from 6 weeks ago for
Mm-hmm.
what people need, but if you're looking for what do they need now
Mm-hmm.
today, that's a really great resource.
That's good. That's very good. Sarah, thank you very much for, you know, talking about those charities that, if listeners want to donate a little bit more money. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting.
Oh, thank you. This is going to sound, I know you've already talked about what you loved about doing the work, putting this anthology together, and I'm sorry, I think, I don't know how else to, ask this, but again, it's going to sound dumb, but, you know, I guess what was the thing that you really love about putting this together? What was
I mean, it's always really meaningful to have people come together for real purpose.
Mhm.
And I say real purpose not to be dismissive of what we do in our day to day or the
Oh,
value
yeah.
of entertainment. Obviously, I'm very invested in that.
Yes.
But, especially in today's world and the last few months, people are feeling this heavy weight of what can I do?
Yes.
Everything is so overwhelming, so
Yes.
overpowering. What can I possibly do? And it can feel that way, especially when you're making comics. You're like, I'm sitting here making my little funny books and like people are dying, and it's
Hmm.
really intense and hard. So I really loved the opportunity to feel like all of us were giving back very concretely, very specifically. And it really had nothing to do with raising funds for a company or
Hmm.
doing a branding initiative. This was just like, let's get some money into the hands of people who need it. And being able to do that really directly is was really moving to me. I'm getting a little teary.
No, no, but it's understandable because, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna add a little bit more, but I know what you're saying because what it is that this book is going back to help the comic book creators that were affected by the fire, you know.
To pay actual
This,
people's bills, like their
yes,
physical needs.
you know,
Yeah,
in because listeners, in some way, I'm going to encourage you, listeners, I'm going to encourage you to pick up this book because, again, the proceeds are going to go back to helping creators who were affected by the fire. Some of them lost their homes. Some of them, you know, we don't know what their struggles are going through right now. And again, it's a way to repay them now.
yeah.
You know,
For all of the times that you've picked up their books and
yes,
loved what they gave you and showed to you.
yes.
Um, yeah.
So, um, just Sarah, thank you very much. Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you, Jason, really. It is such a special book, and
Yeah,
yeah, and I can't believe the caliber of talent who showed up for it. I mean, some of
yes,
the biggest names just came out of the woodwork and said, "Let me help."
yes. Uh, Sarah, mahalo. Thank you, and Hawaiian. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to interview you. I want to thank you, Mike, Mark London, the CEO of Mad Cave, Allison, and also the rest of the Mad Cave studio team for putting this very touching, very powerful book. Thank you for putting this all together. Because I'm going to keep saying thank you for the review copy because I was looking through that. I was like, yes, it's very good. It's very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that and for taking the time to help us promote it. It really means a lot.
Thank you. I also want to thank Allison for setting up this interview. Again, Allison, thank you very much for setting up this interview. Thank you very much. Now, I started this interview with the devastating news about how much damage the LA fires did. Um, it's people literally, a lot of people's lives were affected, were changed. But I want to end on hope because the other thing too is that we saw it on the news how neighbors came together, and the thing is also too, like how Sarah talked about, how comic books, not only in the California area, but, around the country, they came together, to help each other out. And now, as we, as comic book fans, can show our support to the comic book creators by picking up I encourage you to please pick up a copy, of LA Strong, a charity comic for victims of the Los Angeles fires. Again, you know, it comes out um, the first printing comes out on March 19th. The second printing will come out on sometime in May. And I'm just gonna um let me just also start saying, let me give my wrap up thanks to Drew, the co-host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for your hard work behind the scenes. Um, and listeners, I just want to thank you for your time. But I also want to close with basically what was on the last page of this charity book. It ended with these words: resist, recover, rebuild. Listeners, thank you very much for your time. Aloha.
From the islands where the sun meets the sea, Jason's the voice we all wanna be. Interviewing creators, making comics come alive. With every story, he helps us thrive. Reading comics, he's got the best taste. No story too big, no hero to waste. He's the man with the passion and the insight, bringing comics to life, shining bright. Jason from Hawaii, diving in deep, unveiling the stories that we wanna keep. From creators to heroes, he's got the scoop On the comics for fun and profit loops. So tune in, you don't wanna miss. Jason's the voice of comic book bliss. From Marvel to DC, indie and more, Jason's the guy who opens the door with every interview. He's setting the stage, bringing creators to life, page by page. He loves the craft, the art and the lore. Comic books are where he'll always explore. So grab your books and listen in. Jason's the guide, let the journey begin. Jason from Hawaii, diving in deep, unveiling the stories that we wanna keep. From creators to heroes, he's got the scoop. On the comics for fun and profit loops. So tune in, you don't wanna miss. Jason's the voice of comic book bliss. With a heart for comics and a voice that's true, Jason's the co-host, bringing the crew. In every interview you'll hear the spark, a passion for comics that leaves a mark. Jason from Hawaii, diving in deep, unveiling the stories that we wanna keep. From creators to heroes, he's got the scoop. On the comics for fun and profit loops. So tune in, you don't wanna miss. Jason's the voice of comic book bliss. Jason from the islands with comics in his soul. Every episode, he's making it whole. With every page turned and every story told, Jason's the comic book guy. Yo!